on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. Trump is doing a special announcement tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And so this is going to be very interesting. Today being, Wednesday? Good Lord. I don't even know what day it is. Two major things happening today. One, the Supreme Court. I'm actually going to play a bit of that because it was very good. And I watched the whole thing. Very good. Birthright citizenship is going to be an interesting one. I don't want to get in front of the Supreme Court, but Ketanji Jackson Brown, or Jumanji as I like to call her, she is out of her skull. You can tell she's not about the Constitution, that she's about forwarding these crazy radical ideas. It's just weird how oddly juxtaposed she is to everybody else. It's fantastic watching it. My guess is this is possibly going to be an 8-1 decision. We'll see, maybe 6-3. Well, but again, Supreme Court, who knows? They're bought and paid for, so how do they come at them? We'll see. This is one of those things where they want to see the United States destroyed, and this is one of the ways they were doing it in a big way. Also, major stuff going on with Iran, and that's what supposedly his announcement has to do with. Iran. We don't know for sure. I would say it's a couple of things. One, could have to do with NATO. He's pissed at NATO. Won't talk about it. And two, it could potentially, I think, have to do with maybe the war being over or an end in sight. It really comes down to them opening up the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran agreed to that, it sounds like a ceasefire is in the works. So we'll see what it actually entails, but very strong chance it's going to be one of those things. Let's get the ball rolling, get this action happening. This is just a funny-ass video. I'm not a huge cat person in general, but I love animals always. And so this is just funny. This guy shoots this thing, and it's like this cat that he's going to get. And just to give you guys a little heads up, this cat up here in the corner on top, yeah, he has no idea what's about to happen. And it's pretty damn funny. Anyway, check it out. Such a sweet shot, man. That is, okay, anyway, so, and just one more funny thing. The Army, what is this? Army, I can't actually make this out. Maybe I can, if I open it here, it might be easier. There it is. Army Counterintelligence Command. It's a gray checkbox, so ACIC, they're called, at real_Army CI. They released headgear guidance for soldiers with top secret clearances. The new frequency obstructing interception layer, or FOIL, covers and is designed to mitigate unauthorized SIGINT collection and ensure your thoughts remain on a need-to-know basis. Very funny. They got a tinfoil patrol cap, tinfoil beret, tinfoil weather cap, tinfoil cavalry cap. Some pretty funny-ass stuff happening there, people. All right, Donald Trump. He posted, truth this, I guess. Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. We will consider when Hormuz Strait is open, free, and clear. Until then, we are blasting Iran into oblivion or, as they say, back to the Stone Ages. President DJT. Now this, I got a few emails from people. Some dude that was listening to me in the Starbucks. I think it was this morning or yesterday morning. I forget when. But I was talking about this video, and he like overheard, and he's like, "Yeah, it was Kid Rock," and I'm like, "That was the point of the story. That's why I was getting there." Needless to say, yes, this was Kid Rock. This is in Tennessee. And these guys got in trouble. Pete Hegseth basically said, "Nah, it's cool. We got this covered." He said, "So thank you, Kid Rock. U.S. Army pilot suspension lifted. No punishment. No investigation." Booyah. So yeah, that was actually Kid Rock, which was very cool. And again, a number of people told me. Not a huge number, which was good. It was nice. Something weirdly dark is going on, folks. Well, dark isn't necessarily true. It's Zero Hedge putting it out, so I don't trust their opinion on where it's heading because they're Chinese influenced heavily, so they usually spin things into the wrong direction. I don't trust their, especially this individual's opinion. Don't trust. He does good. He pulls good news, good stories, but he is definitely working for China. No question about it. Anyway, in the span of 9 months, 9 top-level scientists in the United States have died or vanished without a trace, literally. Kind of weird. Monica Jacinto Reza, she vanished June 22nd while hiking with friends. They have no idea where the hell she's at. She was involved with Aerojet Rocketdyne, aerospace engineer. So I think, I don't know, yeah, they talk about her mandalloy, some nickel-based super alloy that they've used. It's supposed to withstand heavily oxygen-rich environments. So a lot of the solid rocket boosters and stuff, they'll have a lot of high pressure, and there's a lot of oxygen being dumped into it because you need oxygen to burn, right? The triangle of fire, if you will. Oxygen is one of the legs. And yeah, so all said, she's missing. Melissa Cassius has been missing since June 26, 2025. She was last seen walking alone and she just disappeared. She was a Los Alamos National Laboratory nuclear weapons research and national security science person. These 3 people were just straight up killed, and then the person that killed them all shot themselves. So that's a little strange. Jacob Pritchard, Jamie Pritchard, and First Lieutenant Jamie Gustidus all died on October 25th. They were involved with the top secret capacity of the 711th Human Performance Wing at Wright-Patterson, Air Force Life Cycle Management Center at Wright-Patterson. A lot of weird stuff. Carl Grillmer, astrophysicist and astronomer. I think this is the guy that actually was friends with drawing a blank on his name. Famous one. Anyway, maybe it'll come to me. But anyway, he's all tied into that UFO community, and it's very strange. He just got shot in his front porch. They believe he had history with the neighbor that shot him. All of that said, still strange. And not necessarily friends with the guy I was thinking of, but they went to Caltech or whatever at the same time. William Neal McCaslin, he was former AFRL commander, former research commander at Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico. He vanished from his home, just disappeared. I left his phone and glasses, but he took a wallet, boots, and a .38 revolver. That seems possibly planned in a weird way. A lot of people are like, he left his phone. That's insane. If you're trying to stay off the grid, you sure as hell don't take your phone with you, right? Bob Lazar is the guy I was trying to think of earlier, by the way. Bob Lazar. For all the people that already emailed me, it's okay. Nuno F. Gomez Loureiro, prominent Portuguese plasma physicist who's fatally shot at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. Kind of strange. Probably MIT. Jason Thomas, chemical biologist, reported missing on December 13, 2025 after leaving his home. He was found dead a little bit later, number of months. Thomas, he was a director at Novartis Institute of Biomedical Research with over 4,500 citations in chemical biology and chemoproteomics. Sure. Yeah, I was just studying that last week. That was a Scrabble term. Yeah, so we've got a lot of interesting scientists that are either missing or dead. Now, you can assume it's negative. I don't know. Are these people, were they pushing information they shouldn't have been? Were they tied in dark projects they should? I mean, who knows? Who knows? Were they about to talk? Ew. So, Dem Rep complains mural of murdered Irina Zarutska doesn't reflect the city's values, so she wants it taken down. She says Morales has further characterized the mural as divisive, stating, "We're seeing a right-wing movement that is exploiting the death of the refugee for the purpose of trying to spread division." Gee, it makes me think of Floyd and everything they did with Floyd. Left-wing, let's see if I just say it. We're seeing a left-wing movement that is exploiting the death of Floyd for purposes of trying to spread division. Weird. It works both ways. Huh. That's strange. Democrat Governor Hobbs vetoes Charlie Kirk highway renaming bill. She doesn't like it. Bill passed along party lines. Hobbs called Kirk's killing tragic and horrifying, but argued the bill inserted politics into a function of government that should remain nonpartisan. You mean like Martin Luther King Boulevard and Floyd Avenue and all these different things? Okay, is that what we're talking about still? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm on the same dictionary. Donald Trump, truth this. He says, I have just met with various political representatives of the tragedy that took place in California concerning the burning of thousands of once beautiful homes. It was brought to my attention that the insurance companies, in particular State Farm, Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Apparently not. Like a shit neighbor, State Farm's not there. But State Farm have absolutely horrible to people who have been paying them large premiums for years, only to find that when tragedy struck, these horrendous companies were not there to help. I have asked the administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin, to give me a list of the companies who actually swiftly, courageously, and bravely, in order to make their clients happy and, even more importantly, in order to fulfill their legal obligations. Likewise, I have asked to see those companies that were not particularly bad. The names of some surprise me, but in the world in which we live, nothing really surprises me. But in the world in which we live, nothing surprises me. State Farm and others should get their act together and treat people fairly. The government is looking into this matter as we speak. Again, President Trump, so keep that in mind. MyPillow.com, it looks like they're still extending our free shipping. Take advantage of it. And they said the sale is over, but I'm still seeing our webpage showing it. So take advantage of it, guys. I don't know if they just don't know. Take advantage of it. Free shipping on your entire order. Perfect. Boom. Also, the mattress topper. This is incredible because they're trying to close down a warehouse. I'm thinking they still are. $29.98 for Giza sheets. The best price you're going to get. If you have not tried the Giza sheets, they start at $29.98, by the way. It's like a Twins, maybe, or Queen. I forget which one it is. They go up if you get a bigger bed. But $29.98 is literally the cheapest starting price ever. Normally, they're $39.98. That's the standard sale price all the time, right? And then sometimes they get more expensive than that. Generally, they stay at $39.99. $29.98 is $10 cheaper. Seriously, jump on it. And the standard MyPillow is still, if you haven't tried this pillow for $15, you have nothing to lose. And I arguably think it is the greatest pillow ever made. I've told the story too many times. And the best towels ever. $34.98. You cannot beat these towels. They are hands down the best towels. Try them out. You got free shipping. It's only going to cost you $35. And you are literally going to be like, oh, I can totally see why Dan loves these towels. Yes. Yes, you will. You won't rave my praises per se, but you will rave about the My Towel. You'll praise them. You will think highly of them. You'll bring them up in conversation. You'll be like, you know what? It's funny, these towels. And you're like, dude, I've heard about your towels. I know, but I got to bring them up again. They're incredible. Awesome stuff. They got the best socks, too. Believe it or not, I love these socks. I don't know, for $3.99 a pair, it might seem a little expensive, but they are arguably one of the best athletic socks I've ever worn. It holds your foot in every way it's supposed to, which is also supposed to help with, circulation coming back up. Kind of like those new socks that people on, the compression socks. Basically, it's kind of what they are. It's a cotton version of it. They're pretty awesome. So if you guys have some issues with circulation, you probably want to consider these socks specifically. They're incredible. And again, coffee, 50% off. It's just going to be shipped to you free. If you like coffee and don't particularly, like hardcore about it, it's really good coffee. I drank it a bunch when I was out there I was trying to stay alive. It was so damn cold in that facility that Mike Lindell had us at. Freezing, and you have to. It's air conditioning, but oh my God, it was cold. So cold. Both times. Second time I knew it was going to be cold and I dressed more appropriate for it and I was still freezing. Oh, so cold. Also, mypillow.com/OTF. mypillow.com/OTF. Free shipping, people. mypillow.com /OTF. Take advantage of it. They haven't taken it away yet. And, it's there. Take advantage of it. That's all I can say. mypillow.com /OTF. DOJ is suing Minnesota over rules for girls' sports. This is what, the Title IX stuff? Title VI, I guess. Or sorry, Title IV. We'll learn our Roman numerals. Are you not entertained? No, not what you say shit wrong, Dan. So yeah, Title IV is involved in this one. Not allowed to do that kind of stuff. It prohibits sex-based discrimination in education programs and activities that receive federal funding. So they're investigating. We've got the commercial driver's licenses. There's, at least in Indiana, which might be one of the bad states, they are expiring April 1st. So today, April Fool's Day, thousands of licenses are expiring in Indiana. Now, I would assume many of these people will continue to drive, but if any of them get caught driving with a suspended license, and if there's a company that's allowing them to drive with a suspended license, it's not going to be good for them. All right, Supreme Court stuff. Got a lot to talk about here. Gavin Newsom, first off, is pissed off the Supreme Court for this junk science conversion therapy thing. I mentioned it yesterday. I actually was kind of poor on my explaining how it works. And I don't know if I got it quite right or whatever. But what it comes down to is the doctor was trying to talk the child out of wanting to do the conversion. that was the conversion therapy. They were being sued because they were trying to prohibit, if you will, a child from transitioning, which Colorado says is basically illegal. Supreme Court said, actually, no, they're just talking about them, and that's actually kind of more healthy than this other junk science that you guys are basically promoting. So, yeah, long story short, they did rule that the Colorado's law prohibiting licensed therapists from performing talk-based conversion therapy on minors likely violates First Amendment, siding with a Christian counselor who argued the restriction amounted to unconstitutional viewpoint discrimination. Very cool. So Colorado got shot down big time on that one. Birthright citizenship. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts. Trump says, first off, has to do with babies of slaves, not Chinese billionaires who have 56 kids, all of whom become American citizens. One of the many great scams of our time. So that was one of the things. Then we also find out Trump was planning on going. I don't think we need to play him talking about planning on going. What the hell? I guess he's kind of harsh on a couple of these people. Let's play it all up. What the hell?
Okay.
Have you ever been to the Supreme Court before? Is this going to be the first time going to the Supreme Court?
No, I went once before. The opening of the Supreme Court in the last administration.
And which justices will you be listening for most closely?
I love a few of them. I don't like some others. And you say what you want, but you have the ones that were appointed by Barack Hussein Obama and Biden. I don't care how good your case is. You could have the greatest case ever. They're going to rule against you. They always do. And it's not supposed to be that way. Now, the Republicans tend to be very different. They want to show how honorable they are. So a man can appoint them and they can rule against him. It's so proud of it. We're so proud we ruled against Trump. We're so proud. We're above it. There are those that say that's wonderful, and there are those that say they're so stupid. But the Democrats never fail at one thing. When Barack Hussein Obama or when Biden appoints somebody, they go along that line. You can have the greatest case in history. And almost, I guess I have to say almost, maybe I don't have to say it, almost without fail, those people, 4 of them, sometimes 5 of them, but 4 of them will vote against you. You don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. And that's not what the court system is. Now, the Republican appointees tend to go, and this has been long before me, this has been for many years. Some people would call it stupidity, some people would call it disloyal, some people would say they're right in doing it. And I don't mind being right, but the other side almost never does it. Almost. I think you could find maybe a couple of instances, almost never does. When a Democrat appoints a judge, and I'm talking about judges, not just justices, you go before some of these Democrat judges in Washington, D.C., and you don't have a chance. That's why I gave pardons to hundreds of people that were so badly treated, having to do with J6.
Yeah, so many bad things going on with this. So again, he wanted to make his point known. He wanted to get kind of pissy at him, and fair enough. President Trump, he did actually arrive at the Supreme Court today. A lot of people have said, this is crazy. That never happened. First time ever. They actually have a specific seat for the president if he so happens to desire to show up, which he did. Normally, presidents don't give a shit. Right now they do. A lot of people are heralding Justice Samuel Alito as the strong dude that held the line, so good on him. We will hear some of it. Here is Trump's lawyer, John Sauer. This dude's got a rough voice. I don't know what's going on with it, but he was fabulous. He knew his case law. This man, he was prepared. It was actually very cool to listen to. But his lawyer nukes the liberal Justice Elena Kagan, saying the framers of the 14th Amendment clearly require birthright citizenship to have allegiance to America, not any foreign power. I think it's all worth it. I've got a 9-minute segment, too, we're going to play. I hope you guys kind of appreciate it, because it's a huge case that we're hearing from.
Sauer, that what you just said suggests that you can't be arguing in the way Justice Alito suggests, because most of your brief is not about illegal aliens. Most of your brief is about people who are just temporarily in the country, where there was quite clearly an experience of, an understanding of, that there were going to be temporary inhabitants. And your whole theory of the case is built on that group. You don't get to talking about undocumented persons until quite later, and at much lesser, I think it's like 10 pages to 3 pages or something like that. So you can't really be going with Justice Alito's theory. You must be saying that there is a principle that developed, that was there at the time of the 14th Amendment. Isn't that right?
We agree there's a principle there at the 14th Amendment. It is jurisdiction means allegiance, the allegiance of and this is very strongly reflected in 19th century sources, the allegiance of an alien president in another country is determined by domicile. And that goes back to the Venus and the Pizarro. It goes through the Katza affair in 1853. It comes right up to Fong Yui Ting and Lau Al Bu that are decided shortly before Wong Kim Ark. So that's the principle. That principle clearly applies here. I also respectfully disagree.
Yeah, and I guess, Mr. General Sauer, where does this principle come from? Allegiance, domicile. Allegiance, I think you point to a Lincoln funeral speech as your primary example of where this principle comes from. It's certainly not what we think of when we think of the word jurisdiction, and I appreciate that jurisdiction has many meanings, but the first meaning is like if you're subject to jurisdiction, you're subject to the authority of. One doesn't say, what that means is a certain kind of allegiance that domiciliaries have and nobody else does. So the text of the clause, I think, does not support you. I think you're sort of looking for some more technical, esoteric meaning. And then the question comes, okay, if the text doesn't support you, if there's a real history of people using it that way, but as far as I can tell, at the time of the 14th, you're using some pretty obscure sources to get to this concept.
Well, I take it straight from the framers' mouths. So, for example, Senator Trumbull was asked, what does jurisdiction mean? He means subject to the jurisdiction. He said, what does that mean? He says it means not owing allegiance to anybody else. He is the principal framer of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Representative Bigham, who's the framer of the 14th Amendment, is asked, what does it mean in the congressional record at page 1291? He says, within the jurisdiction of the United States of parents not owing allegiance to any foreign sovereignty. And we've cited many, many examples where the congressional debates reflect that. Then you referred to the oration of George Bancroft. That's one of probably 16 sources, but there's at least 13, counting that one in the 12 treatises we cited, pages 26 to 28 of our brief. There is over a dozen sources that specifically address temporary sojourners. In the 5 decades after the enactment of the amendment, every single one of them says, well, temporary sojourners, their children are not included, including for 2 decades after Wong Kim Ark.
Dude, that guy just rattled all that shiz off, like just off the top of his head. Shredded. And we've got more, and it's worth it. It's worth the 9 minutes. I'm telling you, this is played at normal speed, guys. Normal speed. I was trying to listen to this like at faster speed. And when this dude would talk, it was like, God bless, this dude's talking so fast. Holy crap. All said. It's amazing. Here's more of it. This is where he just basically shreds Jumanji. Thank God, because Jumanji's just out of her mind. And frankly, she pulls some case law and whatnot, but she's just radically crazy.
So I guess I am looking at your position in this case, and it boils down to requiring us to do at least these 2 things. One is believe that the framers were not importing the common law rule and understanding of birthright citizenship. And the second is to believe that what they were doing was departing from that common law rule in the way that you suggest. That is, they were seeking to have this turn on domicile. I think you have a number of hurdles to accomplish those 2 things. One of which, I think, is that when we look at this court's case law, and no one, I think, has mentioned Schooner's Exchange, but it appears that that was an 1812 case in which it seems as though the court had already accepted at the time of the ratification of the 14th Amendment that the allegiance that you were talking about was the English common law rule. That, in other words, allegiance meant that you are covered by the laws of the jurisdiction, that you can rely on that jurisdiction's protection. That's what allegiance meant. Now, you're saying today, no, allegiance meant something about loyalty or that kind of idea. But if the Supreme Court had, prior to the 14th Amendment, established that allegiance meant the common law definition, I think your first hurdle is to help us understand why we would believe that when the 14th Amendment was ratified, the framers weren't just incorporating what we had previously said it meant.
Page 572 of the congressional record directly addresses this. They say the concept of temporary and local allegiance from the Schooner Exchange is what is meant by, or temporary and local jurisdiction from the Schooner Exchange is what is meant by the word jurisdiction in the 14th Amendment. Senator Trumbull says, I thought about saying owing allegiance, but again, quote, there's a sort of allegiance from persons temporarily resident in the United States whom we have no right to make citizens. So he expressly and consciously rejected reliance on
what do we do with, I mean, that's a debate, and it's a discussion, very valid, but then we have a subsequent debate between Fessenden and Wade where the same concept comes up, and it becomes clear, at least from Senator Wade's perspective, that that's wrong. So Fessenden, and I'm not sure whether these are senators, I apologize. Fessenden says, suppose a person is born here of parents from abroad temporarily in this country. Wade responds, the senator says a person may be born here and not be a citizen. I know that is so in one instance, in the case of the children of foreign ministers who reside near the United States, et cetera, et cetera. So it appears as though in that exchange, at least Senator Wade believed that the English common law understanding of what it means to have allegiance, to be a temporary person on the soil, was what was being adopted.
Yeah, that exchange strongly supports us. If you look at it in context, Senator Wade has introduced a version that says only birth on U.S. soil and doesn't have any allegiance or jurisdictional element to it. And so Senator Fessenden stands up and says, well, that can't be right because, obviously, what about the children of temporary visitors? It has this, it's another one of these statements that has this appeal to a background understanding that we all agree that the temporary visitors, their children do not become citizens. And then Senator Wade has to kind of backtrack and say, well, what about the children of ambassadors? And in the end, Congress does not adopt Senator Wade's proposal. So we think that to the extent you can draw an inference from that, the inference strongly supports
All right, well, let me just ask you about why we wouldn't see in the 14th Amendment anything about parental allegiance. Several of my colleagues have talked about the fact that your view of this turns on what the status of the parents are. And not the child, as would the born in the United States view of it. Can you help us understand why we wouldn't expect to see a mention of parents in the text of this amendment?
I think it was well understood that, for example, children cannot, newborns cannot form domicile, so it follows every 19th century.
That assumes domicile is in the test, and I'm asking you, how do we know that Congress did adopt the test that you say it adopted?
Yeah, when you're looking at 19th century conceptions of allegiance, the notion that the allegiance, again, you say domicile is instantiating the concept of allegiance for aliens as opposed to citizen. All of that, the 19th century understands the newborn's domicile, its allegiance follows the allegiance of the parents. And I point out that their theory relies on parental allegiance as well, because they recognize the exceptions for, hostile invading armies, for tribal Indians, for ambassadors. Again, the child's allegiance status, even on their view, turns on the status of the parent.
What do we do with Professor Mueller's amicus brief and the historical record and the fact that even at times in this country where we understood that the parents were declared enemies of the United States, I'm talking about World War II and Japanese internment, babies born in that circumstance were given birthright citizenship. So it seems as though this concept of allegiance of the parents really wasn't driving birthright citizenship, at least at this period of our history. So are you saying this is wrong, or they shouldn't have gotten birthright citizenship?
Well, if they were domiciled here, yes, they should have. If they were temporarily present, then no. But the executive practice we can see from the 1930s.
How does the temporary presence run with your concept of allegiance? I'm not sure I understand. So can you be clear? Are you saying that only people who are domiciled here, as you define it, can form the necessary loyalty to the United States?
It's not allegiance is not a question of subjective loyalty.
Okay.
It is something you owe. It's a reciprocal relationship between the citizen, whether they want it or not. They have that allegiance, and I think it's powerfully
on the basis of what?
Domicile. I mean, that's what it says in so many words in the Venus and the Pizarro. It says, look, if you're talking about an alien, if they're just temporarily passing through, no, they don't have allegiance. But if they've made it their permanent home, they become part of our political community, and they are analogous or akin to citizens.
All right, just quickly, because I'm mindful of the time. What do you do with Juan Kim Ark's statement that birthright citizenship is applying, quote, independently of a residence with intention to continue such residence, independently of any domiciliation? I know that they use domicile, it's a fact in the case, but that's not a part of their holding. It's not what the reasoning turns on.
I believe you're quoting from page 693 of that opinion. It goes on to say, not citizen terms on that, but the duty of obedience to our laws. It doesn't take a further step at that point and say, therefore, if you have temporary and local allegiance, you're a citizen. And immediately before that, you have that page 693 summary of the court's holding, where it says domicile.
Guam incorporates a domicile requirement.
That is the holding. It's definitely clearly expressed in the holding.
All right, one final thing, perspective. You say perspective, we're supposed to do this. Don't worry about the people who are already here and who would not qualify under your rule. How does this work? Are you suggesting that when a baby is born, people have to have documents, present documents? Is this happening in the delivery room? How are we determining when or whether a newborn child is a citizen of the United States under your rule?
And I think that's directly addressed in the SSA guidance that's cited in our brief. What SSA says is there's currently a system where, for example, social security numbers are generated based on the birth certificate. They say this can still be, for the vast majority of instances, completely transparent. You will still get a...
No, not transparent. I'm just talking about the particulars, because now you say your rule turns on whether the person intended to stay in the United States. And I think Justice Barrett brought this up. So are we bringing pregnant women in for depositions? What are we doing to figure this out?
No, as I pointed out earlier, the executive order turns on lawfulness of status. So if you give birth to a baby in the hospital right now, it gets the birth certificate in the system. There's a computer system.
So there's no opportunity. There's apparently no opportunity then for the person to prove or to say that they actually intended to stay in the United States.
Absolutely not. The opposite is true. Their opportunity to dispute if they think they were wrongly denied, which can only happen in a tiny minority of cases, is directly addressed in that guidance.
After the fact.
Yes.
After their baby has been denied citizenship, then we can go through the process.
Yes. And the way that, I'm summarizing because I'm not an expert in computers, but there's a computer program that currently automatically generates a social security number. SSA says, look, a social security number, non-citizens can have them if they have work authorization, so it doesn't prove citizenship. We'll give you a social security number, provided that the system automatically checks the immigration status of the parents, which there are robust databases for, and then it appears no different to the vast majority of birthing parents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel.
Again, so powerful, all the stuff they're talking about, and shot down Jumanji everywhere that he possibly could. So it was kind of, I think, well done. Again, I think hopefully worth the time. We'll see if you guys agree with that, obviously. But all said, the bullet used by Charlie Kirk. We mentioned this yesterday. Many are saying, and it's not really spelled out in the stories I've read, but it does make sense from the standpoint of kind of what happens. But the bullet supposedly fragmented. The shard they found, or part of it they found, doesn't actually match the weapon it fired from because it's a shard. So anyway, it would, to some degree, it would kind of invalidate the ballistic analysis, sort of. I mean, they'd be having a harder time to tie it back to the rifle that shot it, with the exception of the fact that the guy that shot the rifle admitted to it. So there's that. And it does seem to be a 30-06 round, so it's not like it's impossible. So again, they're kind of grasping at straws. It is the legal stuff. I mean, if you're the one that's trying to protect your life, I guess anything matters, right? President Trump is livid, I guess, after a judge blocks the White House ballroom construction until Congress approves it. He said, so a gaping hole is just left on the White House grounds? Unreal. The National Trust for Historic Preservation sues me for a ballroom that is under budget, ahead of schedule, being built at no cost to taxpayers, and will be the finest building of its kind anywhere in the world. Yet, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, a radical left group of lunatics whose funding was stopped by Congress in 2005, is not suing the Federal Reserve for a building which has been decimated and destroyed inside and out by an incompetent and possibly corrupt Fed chairman. The once magnificent building is billions over budget, may never be completed, and may never open, because the Fed's going bye-bye. All of the beautiful walls inside have been ripped down, never built again, but the National Trust for Historic Preservation never did anything about it. Or have they sued on Governor Gavin Newsom's railroad to nowhere in California that is billions over budget and probably will never open or be used? So the White House Ballroom and the Trump Kennedy Center, which are under budget, ahead of schedule, and will be among the most magnificent buildings of their kind anywhere in the world, get sued by a group that was cut off by government years ago. But all of my many disasters in our country are left alone to die. Doesn't make much sense, does it? No, he's pissed off at these people for good reason. Trump also truthed. Secretary of Interior Doug Burgum and I are working on fixing the absolutely filthy reflecting pool between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. This work was supposed to be done by the Biden administration, but Sleepy Joe doesn't know what clean or proper maintenance is. The president and secretary do. It's got to make you wonder if there's something underneath that, too. But who knows? Who knows? It'll come out if there is. I mean, that whole area, there's tunnels going everywhere, so, nah. We got a new restrictions on the SNAP program. Has actually gone live April 1st in a number of additional states. So Florida, Texas, and West Virginia are now facing larger restrictions. There's people that are saying some funny-ass stuff. They're like, well, then people will just take their money and go cross the border. All right. Cool. I don't care. Go do that. That's what you want to do. If you want to literally go buy soda and crap that you're not supposed to buy in Florida, Texas, or West Virginia, and you live close enough to the border where that makes sense, all right, yeah, have at it. I don't give a crap. I don't care. Those states are eventually going to be shut off too. Yeah, and then what are you going to do? So Gavin Newsom's empire of fraud, his cash machine. They collect some of the country's highest income, business, and fuel taxes and now spend more than $300 billion per year. Pretty large budget for a state. Roads are crumbling, which is true. Our county's better than most, but still. Californians are beginning to ask, where the hell is all this money going? Well, a lot of us are anyways. So they've talked to a lot of people, public fraud experts, political figures. They've reviewed hundreds of pages of reports, state audits, criminal indictments, and other public records on California fraud. Seemingly every state program has been compromised by criminals. Best estimate suggests that on Governor's watch, fraudsters, scammers, and organized crime rings have stolen at least $180 billion from taxpayers. Ouch. Welcome to Gavin Newsom's empire of fraud. And his wife's been making money off some of it, too. The money they raised for the fire victims, none of it went to the actual fire victims. They gave it to other stuff and his wife. 14 months after Newsom began his first term as governor, the COVID-19 pandemic swept the world. The state's leaders imposed some of the country's most restrictive public health measures. In response to the crisis, Newsom sought to dump pallets of cash across the state as quickly as possible. One way to inject money was through California's massive unemployment insurance program. Unemployment insurance is administered by the state's Employment Development Department, which can process billions of dollars in payments monthly. Before the state turned on the cash machine, however, experts had warned that the system was ripe for fraud. They did this on purpose. Haywood Talcove, one of America's leading fraud specialists and CEO of LexisNexis Risk Solutions for Government, said, I was begging federal officials not to let the money go out like that because it was going to the biggest fraud in the history of our country. Obviously, I wasn't successful. Many Californians got rocked by this. So yeah, we've got, I feel like they get into some good stuff. I mean, this whole article was good. But state officials, they've so much fraud. There's so much fraud. And it's just billions. Billions. Total budgeted Medi-Cal spending, which includes federal, state, and local contributions, has more than doubled on Governor's watch, rising from $93.5 billion the year before he took office to $196.7 billion in the current annual budget. They're letting their friends just make gobs of money. It's insane. President Trump's anti-fraud assistant attorney general Colin McDonald, he's been sworn in by our good VP J.D. Vance.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Colin McDonald, do solemnly swear.
I, Colin McDonald, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith
That I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely,
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully
And that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office on which I am about to enter.
of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Big deal, right? So, all right, cool. Anti-fraud guy's going to be hopefully kicking down some doors or whatever the effect of that might be. Some stuff going on with the votes. Donald Trump, by stroke of pen. President Trump signs landmark executive order that cracks down on mass mail-in voting and ensures citizenship. One of my favorite things is somebody literally said, I had ChatGPT or Grok, I think it was Grok, had Grok read the entire bill, and here's what it came up with. And there was like 3 points. Yeah, everybody that's read it, it's not very long. Everybody that's read it's been able to put the 3 points together, but somebody needed to use Grok to do it for them because they're retarded and don't know how to read anymore. Whatever. And I don't know who it was. I'm not trying to be mean to anyone in particular, but good Lord. So yeah, it's a big deal. The order requires DHS to create a list of U.S. citizens with the help of the Social Security Administration. It requires that Postal Service only send mail-in ballots to approved voters. Requires unique barcode tracking in secure envelopes. Yeah, Democrats are going to immediately, of course, fight this. Here's Trump talking about it.
Take some time, and I'll make the signature absolutely perfect, so it looks very good. So far, so good. Okay, so that's a big deal. Very proud of it. And I don't know how it can be challenged. You'll probably challenge it. You may say, find a rogue judge. You got a lot of rogue judges, very bad people, very bad judges. But that's the only way that can be changed, and hopefully we'll win an appeal if it is. But I don't see how anybody can challenge it. I don't see how they can challenge.
Yeah, this is so, especially when they get into the next part, which is going to be the national security part, when they know that other countries are hacking, that other countries have the administrative passwords. I mean, it's just so much stuff that's going down. So, yeah, Donald Trump, by stroke of pen, puts an end to all this executive crackdown. Yeah, we got it all. Cool. Governor DeSantis does something very similar. Signed into law Florida's Save America Act, which fortifies citizenship verification for voters, makes voter ID more strict, and sets paper as the default method of voting. Good for you, Mr. Gavin Newsom. Or, sorry, not Gavin Newsom. God was mean. Sorry. DeSantis. Ron DeSantis. There we go. Much better. Much better. That was an accident. Sorry. Apparently, Nissan, they are kind of bringing some jobs here. They're going to bring some manufacturing. And Christian Munier. I don't know who the hell that is. They're apparently moving. They're moving some stuff this way, though. They a lot of their production's coming to our great country because they don't like the tariffs. Good for them. It's fantastic. All right, today's been an interesting day in the big picture. Bitcoin's up a little bit, which is kind of always fun. Love that. I mean, I don't have any. I've got a little bit of our XRP, I've said before. That's all I got. And some, what's the Ripple or whatever the little one is. I got some of that, too. And again, it was just something I bought a long time ago because Ron told me I was stupid not to. Ultimately, it's not even done close to what he suggested. Not even remotely close. Not even close. Not even sort of close. Anyway, doesn't matter. Dow's up. Everything's kind of up a little bit. A lot today, actually. It's up 3%, up 2%. That's pretty good. Gold's also up. Oil's down. So oil's under $100. This is a big psychological thing. Everyone's... VIX is way down, so it was up over 30 like 2 days ago, so VIX has come down, which means that confidence has gone up significantly, so that's huge. Silver's also up, not a huge amount, but it's back up to 75, and again, these things are going to continue to go back up. We're kind of past the point of no return for the deep state, and what I understand, the precious metals, Federal Reserve, and the bond market, these things are all going to kind of crash together in a weird sort of way, and a lot of banks aren't going to survive this. We understand that to be the case. I'm telling you, if you got a 401k or an IRA, at least check with my friends to see if they can help you. IRAs guarantee 100%. 401ks, I think there are some restrictions, depends on some certain things. But if you want to protect your buying power, especially while precious metal prices are not through the roof, because that's where they're going very soon, if not on their way, go to trslikesgold.com, trslikesgold.com. Goldco can help you out. They've got a great way to do it. It's tax-free, penalty-free, because this is pre-tax money that you're playing with, so you can't touch it. If you do, you get penalized and taxed like crazy, so don't do it. It's not worth it. Go to drslikesgold.com, move it over tax-free, penalty-free. Then you actually get physical metals that are your physical metals. They're, again, kept away from you, because if they give them to you, that's paying out. You get taxed and penalized heavily. That sucks. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Let them help you through this. Protect that wealth, that buying power. We've talked many times. This could buy you a handmade tailored suit in 1915. Today, it can buy you a handmade tailored suit. It didn't do anything other than protect my wealth. It cost me $20, I think it's $30, whatever it was, back in 1915, okay? So $30, 30 reserve notes, Federal Reserve notes. Now it's 4,700 Federal Reserve notes to do the same thing. It didn't make me money. It's protecting me and protecting my buying power. Now, the same thing goes back to what would a Federal Reserve note buy you back in 1915? A full 30 full-size chocolate bars, Hershey chocolate bars, 30 of them. Full-size chocolate bars for one Federal Reserve note. Today, you can buy a discount bag of gummy bears for $1. That's what it's doing, protecting your buying power. You'll be able to buy the same thing. Silver's got a protect, kind of a multiplier baked into it, and it's expected to go very high at the end of the year. The numbers they're talking, well, 250 easy as a guarantee, but they're talking some numbers that could very well stagger up into the 500 plus range. They're going to give you up to 10% free silver. That's the one where you're going to see some money making happen. Even if it's coming in at a slight reduced free price, you're still going to be way better off. Trust me. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Gold and silver are going to go through the roof because the Federal Reserve note's inflating badly and the Fed needs to be taken down. Protect your buying power. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system while you can. Pentagon's weighing anti-drone laser weapon deployment in D.C. to fortify airspace. This, again, is from the New York Times. It's from a bullshit source. Anonymous people saying that all this stuff's happening. We've already got this technology in these places. Everyone's trying to make it sound like we're being invaded. We are not. They want you to believe that because they want it to seem like China is so scary. No. And the deep state does not have that ability. We've got counter-drone defenses already in a lot of these bases, especially where we've got some of our most important people hanging out because it's safer for them. It's unquestionably. This is stupid reporting. So again, I'm not surprised, Zero Hedge, they're pro-China. That's what they're trying to do. Make it seem like China has the upper hand. This is what they do. This is what they do. It's cool. Again, they bring some great news forward, but you have to understand there's a slant on a lot of information. Britain's socialized health services are facing shortages because of this Hormuz shutdown. Oh well. Bummer. Yeah, they're going to be running out of supplies soon. That really sucks. Guess you guys should have helped us out. We got another Greek tanker that apparently turned off its transponder, went through the Strait of Hormuz, got way the hell far away, thousands of miles before it finally flipped its transponder back on, and go, look at that, we're really far away. And then just a giant middle finger the whole way. We're hearing stories of this happening all over the place. A lot going on with Iran. I want to play this. Someone shared this with me, Tool Time. Thank you, brother. And Tim Kramer, I don't know who you are. He's this guy, I guess. He's all right. He cusses a lot, so there's some major F words coming. I don't disagree with him. He's kind of got my sort of, I don't want to say my style. I don't know. We share similar styles, maybe, especially when I'm getting one of my little butt hurt antics. You guys know how I get sometimes where I start dropping F-bombs like nobody's business. Yeah. But he makes an exceptional point, and he shares Marco Rubio 2015 and Marco Rubio today. And those two Marco Rubios coincide nicely. I'm actually going to play this a little faster, though. I apologize. It might suck for Jim, whoever this guy is, but the rest of it, Marco talks a little slow.
What I'm about to show you is one of the most I fucking told you so's you'll ever see. Mic drop moment.
I do want to be recorded for history's purposes before I know what was going to happen in regards to this if it goes through. Iran will immediately use the money that it's receiving in sanctions relief to begin to build up its conventional capabilities. It will establish the most dominant military power in the region outside of the United States, and it will raise the price of us operating in the region. They're going to build anti-access capabilities, rockets capable of destroying our aircraft carriers and ships, continue to build these swift boats that are able to come on us, these fast boats that are able to swarm our naval assets. And they'll make it harder and harder for U.S. troops to be in the region. They'll also work with other terrorist groups in the region to target American servicemen and women. And they may or may not deny that they're involved, but they will target us and raise the price of our presence in the Middle East until they hope to completely pull us out of that region. They'll also continue to build long-range missiles, missiles capable of reaching the United States. Those are not affected by this deal, and they'll continue to build them as they've been doing. And then at some point in the near future, when the time is right, they will build a nuclear weapon. And they will do so because at that point they will know that they have become immune, that we will no longer be able to strike their nuclear program because the price of doing so will be too high. Iran is led by a supreme leader who is a radical Shia cleric with an apocalyptic vision of the future. He is not a traditional geopolitical actor who makes decisions on the basis of borders or simply history or because of ambitions. He has an religious apocalyptic vision of the future, one that calls for triggering a conflict between the non-Muslim world and the Muslim world, one that he feels especially obligated to trigger. And he's going to possess nuclear weapons. This is the world that we are on the verge of leaving our children to inherit. And perhaps we ourselves will have to share in it. And so I want to be recorded for history's purposes, if nothing else, to say that those of us who opposed this deal understood where it would lead. And we are making a terrible mistake. But here's the good news. Iran may have a supreme leader, but America does not. In this nation, we have a republic. And soon we will have new leaders, perhaps in this chamber, but also in the executive branch. And I pray that on their first day in office, they will reverse this deal and reimpose the sanctions and back them up with a credible threat of military force, or history will condemn us for not doing what needed to be done at this critical moment in the world's history.
I think that was pretty spot on. Almost like he has a crystal ball. The question you got to ask yourself is, how in the fuck did Marco Rubio know the shit we would be in today 11 years ago? The exact shit we would be in today 11 years ago. Because we knew the threat 11 years ago. Well, that was then, this is now.
Many Americans are asking, why did the United States have to attack Iran now? Well, let me explain. Iran wants to have nuclear weapons. Of that, there is zero doubt. If what they truly wanted, which is what they claim, is nuclear energy, well, they could have nuclear energy like all the other countries in the world have it. And that is you import the fuel and you build reactors above ground. That's not what Iran has done. They build their reactors and their facilities deep in mountains, away from the public glare. And they want to enrich that material. The same equipment that they could use to enrich material for energy, they could use to quickly enrich it to weapons grade. So it is clear that they've been offered every opportunity to have a nuclear program that allows them to have energy, not weapons. And every single time they have turned it down. But why the attack now? Well, what was Iran trying to do? Iran was trying to build a conventional shield, in essence, have so many missiles, have so many drones that no one could attack them, and they were well on their way. We were on the verge of an Iran that had so many missiles and so many drones that no one could do anything about their nuclear weapons program in the future. That was an intolerable risk. Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future ever possess nuclear weapons. And under no circumstances can they be allowed to hide and protect that program and their ambitions behind a shield of missiles and drones that no one can do anything about. This was our last best chance to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build, and the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
That's why. That's why we're there. It didn't start yesterday or the day before or 3 weeks ago or when Trump got elected. It started in 2015. When those pallets of cash left this country, not to go build hospitals and roads and schools for the people of Iran, but bombs. And the rockets to deliver them with. That's where that money went. So the problem we're having today is because of 11 years ago. Now, for all you motherfuckers that are screaming for accountability, you've got to understand all the threats all at once. I see what Trump is doing. I've read his plan, the NSS. I'm on board. The rest of you, I'm tired of your complaining and your moaning and your groaning. Here's a newsflash. Not a motherfucking one of us voted for you. You want your opinion to count? Then get in the game, motherfuckers, or shut the fuck up.
You're watching the Kramer Says Project.
There you go. I mean, I don't disagree. Another NATO ally denies U.S. access to bases for Iran mission. Ah, look at that. Italy now. Interesting. I'm not sure why, but it is what it is. This is just one more nail in the coffin. Here's Starmer talking about why he thinks it's a good idea not to support the United States.
Joe. Prime Minister, President Trump said yesterday that he wouldn't come to the aid of the UK anymore in his Truth Social post. How seriously do you take that threat from our main ally?
Well, it's very important that we're clear. There's been a good deal of pressure on me to change my position in relation to joining the war, and I'm not going to change my position on the war. So whatever the pressure, whatever the noise, I'm the British Prime Minister and I have to act in our national interests. I should say that on defence and security and intelligence, we're obviously working closely with the US, as we always do. And in relation to the planning on the Strait of Hormuz, of course, that involves talking to the Americans as well. So, as I say, whatever the pressure, whatever the noise, my job is, as British Prime Minister, to concentrate on what's in the British national interest. That's what's guided me through this conflict so far. It will continue to guide me as we go forward. Thank you very much.
So obviously maintaining a military alignment with the United States is not in England's best interests, it would seem. Well, interesting. Okay, cool. Thanks. Trump's administration's acting like a mafia boss. This freaking Gosugurkara, whatever the fuck his name is. But yeah, we're getting pissed at NATO, and that's what's playing out right now. Check it out.
I've recently spent some time in Europe, and basically what they say is that it's the US which is sending confusing messages to us. It's the US which is planning to disengage from Europe. It's the US which doesn't seem to be really willing to team up with NATO when it comes to moving forward in Europe. And this explains the reason why we have been very cautious dealing with the Americans when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz in particular.
Well, if that's what someone in Europe told you, that person's very disingenuous, because the United States has tens of thousands of troops stationed throughout that region, billions of dollars of weaponry staged throughout Europe. All of it there to defend Europe, not to defend America, to defend Europe from attack. Okay, all over. The United States is without the United States, there is no NATO. I mean, everyone recognizes that, including NATO. If we decided tomorrow that we were going to remove our troops from Europe, that would be the end of NATO. So they know that. And that commitment, we haven't moved troops out of NATO. So anyone who said that's not being honest or is not, I think they're playing games. At the end of the day, it's very simple. NATO is an alliance, and an alliance means it has to be mutually beneficial. It cannot be a one-way street. Let's hope we can fix it. We'll have time to address it after. Right now, we're focused on this operation.
Yeah, this is this game we're playing. NATO is probably supposed to end. I think a lot of these old bureaucratic nonsense things that have been set up by the deep state eons ago are, or at least have been taken over by the deep state, either way, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, are to be stopped. New situations are going to be created. And in fact, we're going to have a sort of example of that. But Trump is talking about this concluding epic fury. Like, we're not far away. And again, this is all being done to kind of poo-poo everybody that's been shooting down Trump or trying to say it's forever war and all this nonsense. And ultimately, the way it's going to play out, and once it's all done, everybody that's been poo-pooing it's going to have shit on their face, and everybody that's been pro, this isn't going to last long, we're going to look like we've been involved all along.
I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities. We, as you probably read or wrote, we knocked out. Excuse me.
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in 2 or 3
I think
weeks?
2 or 3 weeks.
Not 3 weeks. If it is
we'll
3
leave
weeks,
because there's no reason for us to do this. Look, problem with the Strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, "Oh, it's unsafe." It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country or you. They can drop it. Or you can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship. Or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the Strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up. Today I heard tremendous numbers of ships were sailing through. We're negotiating with them right now. They've been, again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finishing the job. And I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job. But we want to knock out every single thing they have. Now, it's possible that we'll make a deal before that, because we'll hit bridges, and we've hit some. We'll hit some bridges. We've got a couple of nice bridges in mind. But if they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back. It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them. They have no Navy. They have no military. They have no Air Force. They have no telecommunications. They have no anti-aircraft systems. They have no leaders. You know, their leaders are all gone. That's why we have regime change. We have nice new leaders.
Yeah, no leaders. That you kind of need those. Kind of need those today, right? So, Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with Portuguese Foreign Minister Paulo Rangel and highlighted the continued strength of U.S.-Portugal bilateral ties. Secretary Rubio thanked Foreign Minister Rangel for Portugal's close economic and defense cooperation. Both leaders expressed their commitment to transatlantic security. Transatlantic security. Like, we're creating new relationships, new treaties, and NATO is likely going to stop. NATO was basically created by us. It was our treaty. I mean, anyone that wanted to get out of it had to talk to us. If we shut it down, NATO's done. Done. And a whole lot of money stops happening. Of course, there'll be some judge somewhere that'll say, you have to keep NATO going. And that, like, how do you have any jurisdiction over that? I don't know. Insisting I do. Trump absolutely considering NATO exit. This would be pretty horrible for Europe. Very horrible for Europe, in fact. But they've been dicks. I don't know. I mean, no offense to the European people. Love you all. But your governments are dicks. So, all right. Let's do that. Let's separate ways and see who does better. Trump's going to address the nation with an update on the Iran war tonight. We'll see what that actually entails. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I don't know if I'm going to broadcast it live. I'm sure I might. I'm sure as hell going to be live. I'm going to watch it live, I should say. Let's put it that way. But I might stream it. We'll see. We'll see. Everybody's gonna. It's not that I need to, but I don't know. We'll see. It'd be fun to maybe hang out with some of you guys while it's happening. Israeli military analyst, U.S. bunker buster strike entombed Iran's uranium deep underground. They're saying, like anyone would know the difference. But that's what they're trying to say. We trapped it all. We'll see. I don't know if this is where it happened or not. I think they're claiming this is where it happened. Oh, they watched it go into a tunnel, apparently. And, I guess we smoked the tunnel, or that's what they're implying as we saw it drive all that stuff into that tunnel, and we know they can't get into that place anymore. That's what Trump, I think, was posting this video where uncensored videos. That was supposed to be an ammunition depot. I don't know if that's the same thing or not. Meh. We'll see. Israel halts arms purchases from France in rebuke for the Iran war stance. Again, NATO is breaking up. France is pissed off Israel now too, so no one's going to buy anything from France. Germany is kind of on that same bandwagon. Now apparently Italy is too. And I'm sure a lot of that is being pushed by Brussels. And Brussels is ruining relationships with many countries. It's very interesting. Again, Brussels was the deep state takeover of Europe. It is going to come apart at the seams. Iran says prepared to end war if security guarantees are offered, but still no direct negotiations, so they say. The IRGC is in a tough place right now because they're not actually in charge anymore. So we'll see how things continue to play out, but they have been slamming them. We just sent a third aircraft carrier to the area. This is the George W. Bush. It's a very full-size carrier. It's not one of the Marine ones, or if you will, but this is basically meant to replace the Gerald R. Ford. They are saying the Gerald R. Ford's going to be out of commission for over 12 months. I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I don't think that's accurate. They're trying to make it sound like more damage was done to it, that it was possibly damaged by outside sources. So most of the sources that are talking about it being there for a long time are pushing that it got damaged by some sort of attack from Iran, which I don't think is true. I really don't. Even if Iran, maybe they tried to use one of their hypersonic missiles. That is entirely possible. Russia was providing intelligence. Russia probably did know where the carriers were. Ukraine's backers, they want reductions in long-range strikes on Russian oil. They're basically telling Zelensky, here's the thing. Gas prices are too much right now. We need you to stop blowing up Russia's oil because we essentially need to buy Russia's oil. Thanks. Appreciate your attention to this matter. So Zelensky is totally getting pushed off to the children's table. No one gives a crap about him anymore. Apparently, Yemen's Houthis are threatening to create a second shipping choke point in the Iran conflict. They're going to try to take out the Red Sea's port there. I think much trickier to do. I don't know if they can pull this off, but if it for some reason spreads over to that area, I'm pretty sure people will get involved. It's not nearly as it's dangerous, but it's not nearly as dangerous as the Strait of Hormuz. That's just a notoriously horrible area. This very small area across all the way, and it's very, very hard to hide when you go through there. So, all that said, not too bad. Anna Paulina Luna, she sent a letter to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth requesting the declassification of 46 specific UFO videos. Look forward to maybe those coming out in the near future. This is also kind of crazy. Again, I like Benny. Matt Gaetz, I don't know, kind of lost some respect for. He's in the Tucker category with me right now, but all said, this is an interesting conversation they had. Who knows how much truth there is to it, but I think Anna Paulina Luna's talking about some of this fun stuff too.
I think the most important information will be the biologics that are not human that have been discovered. And like even some of the briefings that aren't classified just need to be out in the public. I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An actual uniformed member of the United States Army briefed me on that.
Non-human biologics, interracial alien mating? What the F is going on? Look, wait a second. You had whistleblowers tell you this kind of thing? Can you please unpack that?
Yeah, I had a guy who was uniformed. He was a senior enlisted with the United States Army. Came into my office in Crestview, Florida, in a non-classified setting. I had members of my staff there, and what they explained is that the military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants. Now, again, I didn't verify this, but what the whistleblower was telling me is that there were like between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened. And what he wanted was a group, members of Congress, to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations so that any of those activities could not be moved. And of course, it's a physical impossibility to get members of Congress to simultaneously show up at like 8 locations at one time. And so that never occurred.
What do you mean non-human biologics? Like this?
Well, that was the testimony of David Grush before the House Oversight Committee, which I joined. And the testimony was that in crashes of craft that had been recovered by the CIA and through a special program that the CIA had for crash recovery, that it wasn't just the hard materials, it was also biologics, but that they couldn't identify a human source of those biologics.
Yeah, so crazy. Love it. We today, I think it's launching today. If it has already, I'm not sure. Tonight, 6:24 Eastern time, so not quite yet. Oh, cool. That'll be happening live here in a little while. But Artemis 2 is scheduled to blast off from Florida today, Wednesday. And this is supposed to basically take it around the moon and back. It's a 10-day mission. It doesn't immediately go straight to the moon. It goes around the Earth. They're going to do some sort of thing where they're going to try to practice docking with a piece of space debris that is an old rocket part that's, or old, a large piece of space debris, basically, from a launch. They're going to kind of try to get close to it just so they can practice the concept of docking and whether or not this thing's maneuverable like that. Then they're going to go ahead and spin this thing up and start going across. They're going to go around the moon and come back. They're not going to go into orbit on the moon. They're just going to go around the moon and come back. So all of that's supposed to happen. It's been over 50 years since we've allegedly done this. I do think we actually went. I don't think a lot of the Apollo missions legitimately happened, at least that way. But I do think we've actually been to the moon. So say what you want. All cool with me. And then flat earthers are going to have a tricky time with this in general because obviously this can't happen. It's impossible and la. So I guess, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what you're going to do with that news. AI giant Anthropic suffers strategic code hemorrhage. I've seen GitHub bite people in the ass so many times. It's not even funny. Another example of it. Someone literally published code, like literal code, the actual blueprints of Claude's this AI. So yeah, it's super bad. People saw it, people found it. It's not good at all. Finally, it's time to ban smartphones in schools. I agree with it. Study shows U.S. students use their phones on average of 64 times per school day. That's just absolute ridiculousness. Any parent that's like, but what happens if there's an emergency? What did we do back when we were younger? Do you guys remember that? there's an emergency, mom or dad called the school, right? And then the school walked their happy ass into your classroom and grabs your punk ass, right? Yeah, that's what we'll do. Same damn thing we always did. We don't need kids to have cell phones. This idea, first off, it's for the children. Like, again, that is just the way that's used against us and the way people fall for anything. Anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Let's give children devices that are not healthy. It's for the children. I know. Oh, it's stupid. It's stupid. So anyway, whatever. I don't have kids, thank God. At least, I don't think I do. There might be one. Maybe. Talked about it before. But that's all said. I don't know for sure. It doesn't matter at this point, that's for sure. They're like in their 20s. So maybe I'm a horrible person. It's possible. That said, we got a lot going on. I've got a great music show happening. It's basically inspired by Kid Rock and then Uncle Kracker, kind of. It's them and then others. Is basically what the show's going to be called. Got some good songs. I've already recorded it. It came out really good. It was like playing the songs in my head when I woke up this morning. I'm like, I got Uncle Kracker stuck in my head right now. It's pretty cool. Also, we got a good one, so I hope you guys enjoy that and join us for that. And then today, we'll see. If you see me live, you'll know if that's what's going on. And if not, I'm probably just watching it anyways. So, also, I will definitely be paying attention to what Trump says today. This is a big deal. I love you guys. Where we go one, we freaking go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.